Hello, I'm Anne Carey and I'm going back to school with Student Age.
Tell us, what were you like as a teenager?
I was very shy.
Really? Okay.
So that's why we moved to Australia as a family of 7 kids from Ireland with my parents when I was 10. So from 10 to 14 I went to 6 different schools and then I left school at 14.
Was the shyness because you were one member of a large family, or what was the reason that you kind of stayed in your shell?
Because we moved as migrants
Right.
from a family, and for the first 2 weeks when we came to on the border of Melbourne and Sydney, they put us in a non-speaking immigrant hostel because they didn't think we spoke English. And we stayed there for 2 weeks till they realised that we did, and then we moved into Melbourne itself. So, and I think it was just the combination of being a migrant and shy, and I had a heavy Irish accent at the time.
Were Australians welcoming to you and your family in those early years, or did it take a while?
Oh, I think it took some time because the IRA were still going, and we were Irish and we were Catholic, and being the combination of Irish and Catholic wasn't so accepted in those. I think for my parents it was a little bit hard.
So you left school at 14.
Yes.
Okay, so
Which isn't advisable for those listening.
when did you know that you wanted to get into nursing? When did that potential career path sort of emerge?
I think when I was 24, like I was looking after people who were dying and was young people and they had cancer and that, so I was quite interested in that work. Or enjoy is not the right work, but I liked nursing people. So I went to uni. I did a year of enrolled nursing, which I loved at St. Vincent's, and then I changed over to uni, so then went to university, and then I went to do midwifery in Brisbane, and then later, after some work in Africa, I did a master's in tropical health and public health and tropical medicine.
Well, when you started working in nursing, I understand you faced some workplace bullying at that time.
Yeah, no, not at the beginning. It's only been, I had a lovely nursing career, but it was only just in 2014.
Really? See, that's so interesting, because I think a lot of people think, wrongly, that bullying ends in the schoolyard.
For me, who had heard about it, but not come across it before, I thought there'd be integrity within the system, being the health system. And I was targeted quite badly by managers. But Ebola came up at the time, so I went off to do that. Even though what I had gone from, which was very stressful, I found workplace bullying. I found Ebola easier to manage and less stressful for me, leaving what I did to work with people who needed help and that.
What was it that made you go, no, I'm gonna fly out and work with Ebola victims?
It was just to be part of the solution, I think, rather than not doing anything, but rather than being a spectator. So Red Cross rang because they were finding it hard to get people to go, obviously, because it was so scary and there was a lot of fear in Australia. So they rang and I said yes to the phone call, and then I needed to go and see Donald, who was in Blue Mountains, that's my partner, whose mother was dying at that stage. So I didn't really consult with him or communicate in any way.
So you agreed on that first phone call? Wow.
Yeah. So there was lots of fear. So I didn't think I was going to get back, and Donald was of the same mind. I didn't think I'd get back from Sierra Leone. But
you were still willing to make that decision?
Because I think the important thing for me anyway, wasn't that I wasn't getting back. It was to go and help people who were suffering, because there was so many, wasn't there? And they were suffering badly. So not do anything as part of a global world just seemed to be really, I just can't understand that. So it was easier to go and do something even though you may not get back.
What were some of the things that you faced over there? Like, were you ready for what you eventually saw?
I don't think anybody's ready for that amount of death, because it was over 80% in the initial phase of that. So my first hour in the treatment centre on the 26th of October in 2014, as I entered in, a little child who was only a couple of weeks old, fitted, and then he bled to death in my arms. And then his mother, who was sitting there, had 7 children who all died in this treatment centre along with her husband, but she survived. So that was my first hour. So that changed everything for me, because that death rate continued really badly for lots of thousands of people, because I likened Ebola to a bully when I was there, because bullies go in and do things to people who don't deserve it, like Ebola. And then lots of other countries were scared, so they didn't come in the initial phase of that. And it's a bit like a bully, isn't it? That lots of people around the victim kind of walk away because they don't want to get in trouble, or they don't want to be attacked next. And so I think there was lots of hope in trying to beat this bully in that Ebola. Our world is afraid of lots of things, and like afraid of refugees. So you ask people, have they met a refugee ever, and it's no. And like, I just think you need to start with a stranger and say hello, and they're no longer a stranger. Like, I think we need that courage in our world.